It is time for Flames Unfiltered, hosted by Burud, Kyle Lewis. Talking Flames hockey, we're back for another week.
Yeah. Here we are. A relatively successful week, I would argue.
You would think, you think so?
Relatively. Points possible, 4 possible 6 points. We're still, treading water. The team hasn't been great, but they're more entertaining than most predicted, as we've constantly said this season. So let's continue to enjoy it.
Okay, so 4 out of 6 points on the road trip. So yes, that sounds good.
Yeah.
But you realize we've only won 3 of our last 13 games? Sorry. Sorry.
It's not surprising at all, but yeah. So
am I going to be the negative guy? You be the positive guy today, or how are we doing this? Good guy, bad guy?
I don't know. We're gonna find out. We're gonna go with the flow and see what happens. So, I'm going to explain my pageantry. For those watching on YouTube, I'm wearing Moncton Wildcats hat, but I'm wearing a Mike Camilleri game-worn jersey, which I think I've talked about before. This one is his only home playoff jersey he wore as a Flame, and it actually fits me well because he's not a huge dude either. But the reason I put it on is I'm drinking BioSteel, which he had endorsed. I think he had, he was, part of that company. And
did they not go
BioSteel
though?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I'll be able to get any more. I'm running low. But the reason I'm drinking BioSteel, other than the fact I love it, and for those who don't know, the biggest reason that they went under is because they had all these crazy sponsorship deals with all these great players. Like, they were shelling out way too much money, right? So anyway, the reason I'm drinking BioSteel is I played hockey tonight. The guy that texted me said it's a game of pickup. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm really hungover from way too much drinking last night at another hockey event. And it was a league game. So I showed up and I walk into the arena, and it's not like anything crazy, but like I walk in, like there's music playing, there's linesmen. I'm like, what the hell is happening? I did not agree to this. And we had like 8 skaters, so I was skating on my tongue for an hour. And anyway,
nothing worse than
but it was fun to play positionally again, and because I usually just play pickup now. I haven't played any important hockey arguably ever, but anyway, not in a long time. But it was fun. It was fun. I'm exhausted though. But the good thing is what's that?
You'll sleep good tonight now.
Well, you would think, but I mean, the good news is I was sleeping earlier, and then I get the text to go play. I'm like, all right, fine. And now I'm wide awake because I just played. So, yeah. But I have this friend who I think just started following the show, or is going to. He damn well better. Keith. So Keith and I went to this hockey event. It was a buddy's 60th birthday last night, and Keith and I are like Steven Tyler and Joe Perry in the 80s, like the Toxic Twins. Like, we never really hang out, and when we do, it's a gong show. So we went to this event, had way too much to drink, and then stopped at the shittiest bar in Greater Moncton on the way home, and made for a rough day. So, but now we're here. We're talking Flames hockey. We're good. Everything's good. And again, this 3 of 13 thing you just mentioned, that's alarming, but we're still okay. We're still okay. And
I agree. Let
me ask you something. And I still feel, since we started doing this together, that you ask me more than I ask you. So I always love when I think of a good question. Are you getting a little bit annoyed? Now it's a leading question. Are you getting annoyed by all the people who constantly, after every loss, it's like, oh, stick with the plan. We knew it was a rebuild. Like, I'm getting kind of tired of that rhetoric.
I'm getting sick of hearing about. I'm sick of people hearing about. I'm sick of the word tank, because that doesn't work. Ask Buffalo. I'm sick of the word. Well, I'm glad we lost. No, if you're a true fan, you're never glad we lost.
Even tonight, like, again, the league game, we lost 4-2, and I miss the feeling of being frustrated by losing, which is the strangest thing I could possibly. But you know what I mean, like that competitive spirit, and that's the thing when you're a hockey fan, like.
I think with the Flames this year, like, I understand. Okay, I'm going to tell a story. I don't think I've told this story on the show.
It can't be better than your ex-girlfriend story, but try me.
Oh no. So I got 3 kids. I got a boy that's 18, and I got a girl that's 15. I know, wish me luck. And I got a girl that's 9. When the oldest 2 were able to cognitively understand what I was talking about, which you got to understand. My wife used to work for a junior hockey team. My kids lived at the rink growing up. I mean, they literally, their play sets were set up in the hockey rink. But that being said, I wanted my kids to understand like that losing sucks. Losing sucks. But I also want them to be a good sport and good loser. But so this rewinds back 15 years now, right?
Right.
And I'm teaching my son about how it sucks to lose. And it's the very first year we had a junior hockey team in town. And my friend Marty Murray was the coach. And we did not do well that year. We won 7 games and lost 52, I believe, 51. So not a good year, right?
Yeah.
One night we get shelled like 7-0 or something. And to preface this, I coach Mites hockey next morning, and Marty Murray, the head coach of the team, we're co-coaches together. We get shelled. As we're driving home, I said to my wife, I don't feel right. I don't feel good. Minutes later, after we got home, I'm puking in the toilet. I have the flu. And my son is standing behind me as I'm puking, and he's asking his mom if I'm puking because the hockey team lost.
Shades of 04. Shades of 04.
I told him, I said, when you lose a sporting event, I want you to feel like you're going to puke because you hate losing that bad.
Wow.
Yep.
That's powerful.
Yeah. So he listened to these.
It's interesting because we talked about this on a few shows ago. It's like your prerogative as a hockey team is still be the best that you can be. So the whole team tank thing and banking on a high draft pick, I understand the rhetoric, but it's like this is fun that the team is, in a playoff spot and could be challenging for a playoff spot down the stretch. I mean, the bottom could fall out. Who the hell knows? I mean, with the way the power play is, it probably will. But
I'm going to give you some stats during today's show that lead me to believe that the bottom of the tank is going to fall out. Don't get me wrong. Like I want to win every game, and do I want a top 10 draft pick? Yeah, I do, but I want to win every game, right? And I'm under the belief that you can trade all your assets away and stockpile these draft picks. No one guarantees you success based off that, right?
No, and I mean you always point to Buffalo as you did previously, even tonight, and it's like that's also a lot of mismanagement. Which the Flames are guilty of for years. But again, it's if the team is a bit more competitive than we expected, and we're seeing more of these players like Matthew Coronado right now, for example. It's like this is all part of the plan. Yeah. Okay, let me put it this way: a rebuild is not predicated entirely on losing, which seems to be the rhetoric that's out there, right? Like we can have a winning season, and it's still part of the plan. The only problem is, like you might miss out on a high draft pick, but it's like, okay, still we're ahead of schedule, maybe, right?
You know what? You can draft all the high draft picks you want in the world. If you don't land on a couple of your second and third rounders, you're still not going to do well. And I don't know. I get frustrated with this team, but yet I see some bright shining spots that make me feel pretty good about the future. And I think, wasn't that what we signed up for this year? Was a year where no, we don't want to lose, but we want to make sure we look good for the future, right? I look and I use Vancouver as an example, and I've said it many times on this show. Last year were not expected to do well and did well because they made some proper moves. Now, with those same proper moves, why can't we put a fast forward button on this also?
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. And as much as we've been critical of him a little bit lately, guys like Kevin Ball have emerged as significantly better pieces than a lot of people expected, and those are the types of things that are going to cause this rebuild to move along. And then guys like Coronado has been the purest goal scorer on the team. There's all those little things. Dustin Wolf is performing, I think, better than a lot of people expected. Like those things are all they're all exciting, and we need to embrace them and not worry about a draft pick that may or not pan out, next summer.
I made a list of the guys that I think have outperformed their worth. Outperformed their expectations thus far. And I had the same guys as you. I had Coronado, I had Coleman, I had Lomberg is doing well, Uyghur's doing well, Anderson's well, Braden Pahal, although I will say lately he's scared me a few times. Has obviously I've spoke very highly of him, and I will continue because I like what he brings to the ice. But I've been very critical in the previous two shows on Ball, and I still have some problems, but he still does some things too that make me feel pretty good about where that could go too. And of course, the biggest bright spot on the team is our goaltending, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Dan Vladar, I mean, in the Buffalo game was fantastic, and I'd found he hadn't been quite as good as Wolf had been of late, but I mean, he had a really good game in Buffalo. Wolf was phenomenal against Montreal. The Boston game, actually, the goaltending has not been an issue.
No. How did you feel? Dustin Wolf gets a start in the Boston game. I thought he was very, very good in that game, and some bad luck. He did his job in overtime too. He made the first stop on Marchand. Someone should be picking him up, and he's able to bang home the rebound to win the game. But all in all, I thought, how did you feel about that one for the Flames?
Well, man-to-man coverage in overtime is very difficult, right? So I agree with your assessment of that, but I mean, it was the fact we came back. I was playing hockey that night, so I watched the last few minutes of the third and the overtime in the dressing room. But I was actually shocked they came back and tied it. And now they're using all that same terminology from 2014-15 season, the cardiac kids, the comeback kids, all this other stuff. And it's like, that's what young teams do. They're full of energy and they're going to scrap and fight for points, which is great. But overall, I mean, the team it's far from a wild machine. You know what I mean? Like,
the thing is, though, like, you can't keep doing this. Like, everybody says, oh, the Flames are such a good third period team. That's great. But if we weren't such a shitty first period team, we wouldn't have to be so good in the third period, right?
Yeah, none of it's sustainable, but you will have outlying seasons. And I referenced this on one of our shows. I think it was last season. So, like, the 15 Flames, all the analytics showed they did not belong in the playoffs. And it really showed they didn't belong in the playoffs when they played the Ducks that year.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, they were missing Mark Giordano due to injury, but eventually these things will catch up to you. But unsustainable luck can run its course over an entire season. And it's the same that goes for bad luck. So I talked at one point about the Flyers having a horrible year back in the mid 2000s. And Gord Miller had said, they're not that bad of a team. They just had that bad of a season, right? And that's the kind of thing that we're seeing with the Flames. It's like, they're everything coming back down to earth. It's going to happen, and it's starting to happen.
It is. I mean, you can't sustain these third period comebacks. And quite honestly, if this team doesn't figure out how to start on time, it's going to be one hell of a long year.
Was it 16, 17? Somebody posted the other day, it was on X, the whatever year it was when we had like 17 overtime shootout losses, and it just sunk the team. Like, just killed them. I think it was a league record.
2 or 3 years ago, right?
It wasn't that long ago. Anyway, it was awful. It was just
the year that everybody kind of pinned us to win the cup. The year we got Huberdeau.
Yeah.
We outshot everybody.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't. Yeah, I don't know. I lose track of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up because it's gonna drive me fucking crazy. Anyway,
so the Buffalo game yesterday pissed me off. I thought we were garbage. Were we not garbage? I mean, Coronado gets a goal, Backlund hits a clutch goal to get us tied 2-2.
It was 22-23. 22-23, we had 17. Yeah, wow, that was the season. You're right. Anyway, no, I agree. I didn't like that game either.
You know what I hated more than that game? It was the shootout.
No, but I have a feeling you're going to tell me.
Are you kidding me? We're going with Sharon Govich, Kuzmenko, who's a ghost out there in Kirkland for our shootout. You're going to sit and watch Coronado, Zari, freaking anybody, right? I mean,
it was like a really light version of Nagano when Gretzky was on the bench. for Team Canada.
I hate it because like shootouts are shootouts and shootouts are somewhat irrelevant and a crapshoot. So I can
that's right.
pass, but so come on, like you got to pick. You know, everybody always says, "Well, Huska's a great person of knowing who's going." Really, because I didn't see it in that shootout. Because Coronado's going, Kuzmenko is not going.
Yeah.
He's going in the tank.
Well, this is what I had said, and you know, shootouts are a crapshoot, as you said, but those were some very poor attempts by the Flame shooters. They were terrible attempts.
Oh.
You know, I would have put Cgy in there because Codry's got a lot of swagger.
He's been going. He's a confident guy. Like
Coronado, especially as a right shot, and he's been going. He has to be in there. He should have been their first shooter. And I also realized, you know, he's probably trying to get Sharon Govich going, but you don't do that in a shootout, in my mind. He's a very skilled player, but I mean, the hot hands, you know, throw him in there.
Sharon Govich has been getting better every game since his injury.
Yeah,
give the kid some time.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness gracious, and like I could be told 100 times that Kirkland's the best shootout guy and whatever, but I don't know.
Man, I suck and I've scored in shootouts. Who cares? I mean, good for him for the shootout winner he had, but like that doesn't make him a good shootout player.
I don't know. I was pissed, and you know what? All right, let's get this out of the way, and then we'll talk some positive. But I'm ready to drop the hammer. I'm getting pretty frustrated with the coaching right now. I am. I know I'm not supposed to say that, and I know we're supposed to love Conroy till the end, and I know we're supposed to love Huska till the end, and I'm not right now. I think the lineups have sucked lately. I think they've sucked. Yeah. I'm sick and tired of Sharon Govich at center. It doesn't work. I'm sick and tired of the Pospisil experiment. It doesn't work. There's just a ton I'm sick and tired of. You know what I'm really sick and tired of? Let me keep venting here. Is I'm sick and tired of watching Huberdeau on the power play.
Yeah, that's fair.
We get a power play in the Buffalo game in the freaking overtime, and Huberdeau's out there.
Yeah, it was frustrating. Now, Pospisil sat pretty much the entire third against Buffalo.
Yeah.
Which
and
I was a fan of that. Jake Bean's finally starting to draw back in, and I never really understood why Jake Bean had been taken out so often.
No, I don't either.
Because and not that he's been like stellar, but I think he's been just fine and a lot better than some of the other options, right? So I don't know. These things are starting to be addressed a bit, I find, but some of it, I don't know. Some of it is still bothersome. Like, you know, Connor Zary should be, you know, working as a full-time center for the team at this point in my mind.
Well, are we going to try it at least? Like, that's the only I've looked into every Huska's done every variable of lines you possibly can do, except for have Zary at center. Like,
I'd love to see Zary and Coronado.
I made my lines this morning for forwards. You want to hear them?
I do.
I got Codry centering Huberdeau and Sharon Govich.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure I love that line. I've got Zary centering Hanzik and Kuzmenko / Mantha, whichever one is healthy or ready to play that night. They're both lazy.
Okay, carry on.
I've got Backlund centering Coleman and Coronado, which I think everybody would agree with me.
Yeah.
And I've got Rooney / Kirkland when he's going or whatever, centering Lomberg and Pospisil on the right-hand side. That's my lines, man.
So this is interesting because I was going to ask this, and then your lines actually great segue for me. Would you consider breaking up Coleman and Backlund to spread those two out? Just because they're both so good at what they do. Now, the problem is they're so good together, but with the way the lines have been of late, I'm starting to with that. I think, you know what, maybe we separate those two.
I did. I thought about flipping Hanzik and Coleman. And I know people are going to say, well, Hanzik's not even on the team right now. Yeah, but I can call him up, right?
Yeah.
So why don't, I agree with you. Maybe you have Zary center Coleman and Kuzmenko, and you have Backlund center Hanzik and Coronado. I don't mind that line at all.
Now, do we think Hanzik's going to come back because Dryden Hunt got reassigned, or was Mantha healthy?
I'm just putting Hanzik in there because you know what? I need to get some youth into this lineup. I'm sick of watching Anthony Mantha truck his 30-year-old ass up and down the ice slowly. I'm just like we're at this point right now, we might as well give the young kids a shot, right? And I know I'm as old school as they get, and for me to say that, it sounds crazy. But why not call him up? Why not give him a chance?
Yeah, no, I agree. And Mantha, I was actually disappointed because I mean, a hometown game for him when I was in Montreal. I was really looking forward to seeing how and he looked good. But if you don't get that effort with him every game, is the problem, right?
Like there is so much, and I'm not trying to like just pinpoint guys and just like rip them a new hole. I'm not, but like
No.
there's so many things that Kuzmenko and Mantha both do that I really, really like.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I'll like him for a game and then forget about him for 3 games and then like him for a game?
Yeah.
These are veteran players. And yes, somebody could argue with me because Manko's not a veteran yet. He's old enough to freaking
he's
be consistent, right? That's why Vancouver kicked him in and threw him to the curb and wanted to dump his salary, is because they were sick and tired of watching him go out on a Tuesday night and be good and then be horse shit on Thursday and Saturday.
Well, this is the exact same reason they just jettisoned Daniel Sprong. Sprong has a reputation, and it's a well-earned one, for being not a great, teammate, not a great work ethic. I mean, I know far be it for me to sit here and say too much about those things because I don't sit in those dressing rooms, obviously.
No, and I don't either.
But the thing is, it's like we always talk about real life analogies. It's like anything else, these guys, like they're just people that are a fit at a certain job, and guys that aren't and fit in better in other roles in different places, and that's just hockey. But these guys, because of how good they are at what they do, will always have chances elsewhere. And Mantha being in Calgary, this is a great chance for him to, drive his stock up going into the deadline. But so far, that hasn't been the case. Here and there, it's been the case, but not often enough. So hopefully, he comes back from this injury, and I'm hopeful that Hunt being reassigned means he's coming back, and then when he does, hopefully he can assert himself, because he can be a very valuable piece, but he wasn't a very valuable piece to Vegas last year, obviously.
I feel like lighting's gonna like strike me, because I'm like, I don't know, because I'm talking about bringing on the youth, and I'm such an old school guy that was just like, no, just stay.
You're evolving.
I mean, gosh, I don't know. The losing's making me evolve. But listen to some of these player stats. Our leading goal scorer is Kadri and Huberdeau with 5. Guess where that ranks in the National Hockey League?
No idea.
78th.
Holy Lord. Wow.
You want to hear some worse numbers? Assists. Our leader is Anderson with 7. 96th in the league.
Wow.
Our point leader, 11. Anderson, 101st ranked point in the NHL.
Holy Lord.
Make me want to puke. Listen to this one. Nazem Kadri, who I've been critical of, but also have said he's the only offensive driver we have right now on our team. He's minus 10. That's 12th in the National Hockey League.
Wow.
The only people worse, Doc, Frost, Scissions, and believe it or not, Steven Stamkos. Wow.
Yeah, that has not gone as planned at all. And we always try to make it a point on this show in terms of, appealing to a larger audience and just paying attention to the league at large. We've yet to talk about that, but what a shit show in Nashville. It is once again a prime example, and I always use this analogy of Korea and Solani in Colorado. You sign all these huge names. The Rangers did it for years with Lindros, Bure, Fleury, and it doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Doesn't mean a thing.
Kyle, do you want me to bring you down just a little bit more with some team stats, or do you want to move on?
We're in the rabbit hole of misery. Just fire away.
Then I'm gonna bring us out of it. Okay.
Okay.
Goals for per game, 2.8, 20th in the league.
Yeah.
Goals allowed, 3.07, 13th. Okay, I can live with that.
Mm-hmm.
Power play percentage, 15.9, 24th in the league. Winnipeg is clicking at 41.9 to put it in perspective.
Yeah, wow.
Penalty kill, 72.3, 27th in the league.
Yeah, that's abysmal. Yeah.
Shots per game, 28.7 with 18th. I can actually live with that.
Yeah.
Shots allowed, 31. That's 26th in the league. We're allowing 31 shots on rookie goalies.
A rookie goalie, yeah.
A rookie and a fairly new goalie in Vladar. Face-off percentage, freaking 45.2, 31st in the league. 31st in the league. That tells us there, and we didn't need that stat thrown in our face to know that our centers are not NHL caliber centers.
Well,
Besides Backlund and Kadri, but they're both. Oh, Backlund's playing third line for the most part, but Kadri is not a number one center. Kadri is an amazing number two center. But if I think a lot of those numbers fall onto the Pospisil, the Sharon Govich, those experiments. It's tough to experiment centers, right? And have success. It's just really tough.
Well, this is why we mentioned, trying Zary at center, but it also points to some comments I've made about, like, especially with face-offs being so bad. Like, it bleeds in everything else. So if your centers are not great, obviously you're going to be bad in face-offs. If your centers are not great, you're obviously going to allow a lot of shots because your centers, they're the guys that are on the puck carrier, right? So I don't know. There's a lot of little things, like some tweaks here that can be made to this team, at least in theory, that might lead to more success. But like special teams I get anxiety when the Flames have a power play because it's an absolute joke. Like and I realize the team lacks like real high end firepower,
and it's tough to have a good power play. It's tough to have a good power play when you do lack that high end talent, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like I think a lot of it though, it's like who we have out on the power play. Like, do you have a lot of confidence in Jonathan Huberdeau scoring right now? Like, I don't. But why do we keep putting him out on the power play one? Like, I don't understand.
I think they're just trying to get as much as they can for the amount of money they're paying the guy, right?
I totally agree.
And they're putting him in a position to succeed, which I get too, but it's it's been.
I know ownership's probably looking at Conroy and Husk and going, hey, like I just stroked a check this month for like $850,000 for that guy. You might put him in a position to succeed. I don't know that we can do that anymore. I don't know that we can do that. I mean, is Jonathan Huberdeau anything better than just a decent third line left winger now? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. He needs something else to get him going, obviously. I was hoping the connection with Mantha would be that, but
me too.
A stronger center would certainly help.
We all like Jonathan Huberdeau. We all want him to succeed. I just don't know what the reason it isn't working and what will change that.
Yeah.
So Kyle, what's your take on Pospisil? I know me and you were big fans of his last year, and I know we both have acknowledged his struggles this year, but where do you see that going, and what do you think? Because the guy has 0 points, 6 minor penalties in 11 games. And we're not seeing the fire that we saw out of Pospisil last year. So what happens?
It's a sophomore slump, which, despite what anybody may think to the contrary, it's a real thing that affects a lot of second-year players. Mm-hmm. And it's hit him hard. And he's been reckless. I haven't seen much of that end-to-end, frontline speed that he showed last year.
No.
And I think it's time to sit him for a game.
I don't disagree. But you know what?
And again, like we're not shitting on the player. It's just the reality of he knows he's not playing the way that he knows he can and the way he wants to. And sitting that period in Buffalo, I think, was the right decision. And look, the team tied the game and lost in a shootout.
Yeah.
He's been very ineffective, and I think he's still a young player, and he was more of a project than a lot of us realized. None of us ever really expected him to be an NHL player in the last little while. So, but this is an opportunity to say, okay, listen, obviously your play's been a little reckless and not what we need from you. Like, we want you to sit and pay attention to the game, give somebody else an opportunity. And when you come back in ready to fucking go.
So when you look at this roster, I think me and you look at it a lot of the same ways. When I look at it now, I look at it as, all right, is he part of the future? Is he not part of the future? Right. And I believe Martin Pospisil really is.
Mm-hmm.
But if we had a line, and I know Rooney probably will not be centering our team once we get, being our fourth line center once we get to where we want to go here in the next 3 years, let's say.
Yep.
But could you not see Lomberg and Pospisil on, Lomberg on the left, Pospisil on the right, with somebody else in the middle of centering? That's a unbelievably good fourth line, isn't it?
It certainly could be. If you had a fourth line center that could win faceoffs, consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
It's interesting. Because of his energy, I almost want to see Lomberg have an elevated role for like a game or two.
No.
No, Well, the guy's in crazy good shape. He's quick. He's got good net drive. Like, I don't think there's any harm in trying that.
You know what I want, Kyle? Oof, as I drill my mic. I want stability. Can you just give us some lines and run with them for 6 games? Just freaking please.
I think they're getting close to figuring out what those lines will look like. So hopefully we'll actually get to see that.
What are we, 13, 15 games in? We have had zero consistency.
Yeah.
First 3 games, we won. We had consistency.
The stats that you rattled off
are mind-blowing.
I was going to say literally mind-blowing. Took the words right out of my mouth. It's absolutely insane. What I'd like to look into a little bit more on the other end of the spectrum is the Winnipeg Jets. Like, we have to talk about that just for a minute. So league record, 14 of their first 15 games. Everything they're doing is like they're just trouncing everyone. Did you see what they were chanting at Jake Ottinger?
I have a note here to talk about it. They were chanting USA backup. How hilarious is it? Vicious and hilarious.
Oh man, yeah. US backup.
This Jets team, their power play is 41.9. They're number 1 in the league. They're number 1 in the league in goals allowed with 2.07, and they're number 1 in the league with goals for at 4.5 per game. This team is rolling. They're 14-1.
I want them to get the Avalanche again in the playoffs. I want that rematch real bad.
How long can they sustain this though? I mean, this is
a 40-some% power play. That's got to cool off. That's wild. But Connor Hellebuck has taken a claim to his second straight Vezina, and I think he's upset with himself for the way that Avalanche series went last year, and understandably so. I wouldn't pin it on him, but he did not steal any games in that series, right? But it's so weird because, again, this is the crazy thing about hockey, and all the pundits and us included. We give our takes, we look at lines, we look at prospects, and project how teams are going to perform. Well, the Winnipeg Jets, most people saw them going into a major decline. And then I remember when they signed Scheifele and Hellebuck to those big extensions, it was like, surprised they're staying, but I mean, really committed to a team that doesn't really know where it's going. Well, now look at them. They're just clicking. They have, and you and I have said this before, one of the best captains in the league, I believe.
I'll give anything for him.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's just that's what makes the sport so beautiful is the amount of parity. You just don't know. And like the Jets, they're going to cool off to some extent.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, this is great. And that city, like, there was some concern about season tickets in Winnipeg. And now it's like, okay, you got the class of the NHL. So get your ass out there and see them.
I think the league needs to take a look at San Jose before they look at Winnipeg for attendance issues. There's literally nobody in the stands at all in San Jose.
I can't understand. I said this to my buddy that works for the Blue Jackets. Like, all due respect to Mike Greer, he was a great player. I don't know what qualified him for that job, and I don't know what he's doing.
I don't either. I sit and watch some of the moves, and I'm like, "Ooh, I didn't see that coming." Good, because I don't know.
And it's strange because that's a team that tried for so long with a very talented core to make stuff happen, like with Marleau and Thornton, and like they just.
I like bet on them for like 3 years in a row to win the Stanley Cup, and they made me look stupid 3 years in a row, and I vowed to never ever give them credit ever again.
I remember the year they lost to Pittsburgh. It's going to put a lot of pressure on them too, right? With Anaheim having won cups or a cup, I should say, and LA, like to be like now you're like the third team in the market that just couldn't get it done, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be tough. It has to be. Because, I mean, California is a big state, but it's not that big. You know what I mean? Like, you're really fighting over fans, I feel, in some cases, for probably all the other communities outside of those three. And I don't know. I don't know what the hell that team is doing. And I don't know what – I mean, I don't care how good Macklin Celebrini is. He could be the next Connor McDavid. I don't know who's going to really elevate that team, pull them out of the dumpster, but it's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
I've been negative like 98% of this show, but I will be positive at this point.
I was waiting for
this. As we sit here on a Sunday evening, Calgary is in a wild card. They're the number 1 wild card team with 17 points, and they're there in points. So like I have to be positive on that. And another thing I will be positive on is I want to talk about the defense a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very critical of Ball, and I still will be because I still think he does some things that make me shake my head. But all in all, I feel like he's improving every single game. I think Anderson's been good this year, especially offensively. Defensively, once in a while, he scares me. But I think Uyghur's been very, very good. Bean gets back into the lineup. I can't even give you an idea on what I feel about him because I haven't got a sample size large enough to be able to give an opinion on. And Braden Pahal, I thought he started off guns a-blazing, has had some issues here the last couple of games, but all in all, still a pretty effective 5-6 defenseman, right? But
Absolutely.
it throws us into our X factor, and this is one I wanted to get your opinion on. As Joshua writes, I did not realize I would cut that off on the screen there. Okay. As Joshua writes, in the X factor this week, listen, Daniel Miromanov may not be the quickest, he may not be the strongest, or be the best defensively, or consistent, or impactful.
Yeah, I saw that.
Pretty much covers it all. But
Yep.
I thought it got this tweet got me thinking, right? It got me thinking, oh, really? What did I expect from him this year? And is he on the right track for this team? And I know you have a junior experience with him.
Mhm.
And I wanted to get, when I saw this, I was going to text you right away. And I thought, no. This is an X factor. And we thank you, Joshua. But like, I just want to get your take on where do you think this guy's going? Because obviously Joshua doesn't think he's going anywhere.
We're still kind of waiting to see, right? I thought the last couple of games he played, he was much better. But I don't know what he projects as, and that's what I struggle with. You know, this is a guy who I thought had a pretty, because he's a forward, you know, by nature, I guess I'd say. I expected more points. I expected a bit more creativity from him, and maybe he's still kind of finding his fit. But he, of all the players in this team, I have the hardest time projecting what the hell he is. Is he a top 4 defenseman? Is he an extra defenseman? Like right now, I don't know.
I think he's definitely playing out of his level right now, positionally, not as a defenseman, but as a 1-2 defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, 3-4. You could argue that back and forth. I like a lot of things he brings. I get frustrated because I feel like he misses the net a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I don't know. Is he part of the future?
Well, they think he is. And they gave him a contract to indicate, hey, you know, show us, because they want him to be. But
yeah,
I don't know. The jury's out on him. I'm curious to see what this conference. Let's revisit this one, and probably the new year.
What do we? Yeah, that's probably a fair timing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think. And I mean, we'll be talking about it before then, obviously, but I think we really need a larger sample size of him to see what the hell's going on.
So this week, we're recording on a Sunday, busy week, and that's why we bumped it up a day. We usually record Monday nights. We did it Sunday because Monday and Tuesday, the Flames play both nights. LA comes to town on Monday evening for the first of 3 meetings with the Kings, a Kings team that's leading the Pacific Division with a 9-4-3 record. And quietly, you don't hear a lot of talk about them, but have rattled off some pretty solid wins this year.
Yeah, they have, and they're a sneaky good team, I find. Interesting. I'm just looking at the schedule here too. So we got the Predators on Friday.
We got Vancouver in Vancouver on Tuesday for a back-to-back, and then we have off till Friday where Nashville comes to town.
Yeah. Wow. It's gonna be a busy and interesting week. This Kings game, like the Kings are 9-4-3. Like that's gonna be a tough one. They don't really have a lot of weaknesses. That's the thing with LA. Like they're a very good team, top to bottom, and they're another one that people were surprised that they were as good as quickly as they were.
People around the league aren't talking about them. They're just not.
They kind of go about their business. I think the fact they got dummied by the Oilers a couple years in a row kind of tempered expectations a bit. But the thing is, at least in my mind, the Kings are doing this. You know, they're going up. The Oilers, I'm not so sure that's going to be the case.
Oilers had a big win over the Canucks last night. I watched the final 2 periods of that, and boy, Edmonton had things rolling last night, and Vancouver was struggling. Yeah. And it was just a team that looked really tired. I believe they're coming off a hell of a stretch of games, and I know they have a couple days off now and then go on a big time stretch of back-to-back, or not back-to-back, but every other nights. And it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. As right now the Pacific stands with LA in first, Vegas in second, Vancouver third, Calgary fourth, and Edmonton fifth. Oilers are catching up to the Flames, though. They're tied with the Flames, or no, 2 points back of the Flames in points.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really, I couldn't even begin to tell you what the playoff picture would look like, even in the new year. That's going to be interesting. Speaking of interesting, one thing I want to ask you, because we talked a bit about this in the U.S. backup thing in Winnipeg. So there's an article I got to find because I didn't have a chance to read it yet, but there's been a massive, massive decline in the superstardom of Canadian goaltenders.
Yes,
because we had
you have Jordan Binnington now.
Yeah, Jordan Binnington. There's been talk about Sam Montembeault, Stuart Skinner, which is but none of these guys.
I don't know that Marc-Andre Fleury isn't still your best goalie.
Well, I was just going to say that, but he's retiring, right? So
might have to come. He might come out of retirement for the Olympics.
But it used to be we had.
I don't know. He's
Marty Brodeur, Roberto Luongo, Patrick Waugh, Carey Price, Curtis Joseph was an excellent goaltender.
Yep. Eddie Belfour.
Now in this, it's all like the Finnish guys. They the Finns produce fantastic goaltenders, and the American goalies are the best ones in the world right now. And again, it's Hellebuck and Ottinger. And for years, you guys would I don't know, do anything you could to prop up Mike Richter even after his knees were rebuilt, right? It's so interesting because the Quebec raised butterfly goaltenders that's what you wanted for so long, and now we have these really agile younger European goalies and these large, very technically proficient American goalies, and it's right now Canadian goaltending has really lost its identity. I find.
I can't pinpoint. I living in the States, I can't pinpoint why the U.S. is producing so many more high-end goalies is probably the better term than Canada is right now. I can't pinpoint and say, well, it's because we're doing this, or it's because Canada isn't doing this. I don't see that. I really don't.
Well, I think in part it's the growing of the sport in the States, like Dustin Wolf's from California, right? And he's a hell of a goaltender, as we've seen. Let's have a look where all these guys are from.
Did I hear numbers right, though, that there's actually more kids registered for USA Hockey this year than Canadian hockey?
Probably. You guys have a way bigger population, so it would make sense.
Wow. Yeah, but wait a minute. Oh, there's only a freaking quarter of our country that really does play hockey.
Yeah, fair. Jake Ottinger's nicknamed the Phenomenator. I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
But see, so Hellebuck's from Michigan, and Ottinger's from Minnesota. So typical hockey hotbeds, right? But then you get like I mentioned, Wolf being from California. I just feel like the sport's growing a lot there. But that being the case, it doesn't really explain why the quality of goaltending seemingly suffered so much in Canada. Because I don't know who the best Canadian goaltender is right now. And to your point, actually, it probably still is Marc-Andre Fleury, which is pretty concerning given his age.
I can't believe I'm saying that, but I do believe that. I really do believe he's probably your best chance for big game goaltending, right? I've always had a lot of respect for him.
And I don't know who the heir apparent is. But speaking of goalies, actually, let's go here for a second because this is interesting too, and we have not talked enough about it. Devin Cooley.
I just saved it on my phone.
Also from California. I'd like to point that out.
He is. Did you see his numbers? Listen to these since I'm Mr. Stats guy tonight. 8-2-0, 3 shutouts, 1.46 goals against average, 0.954 save percentage. Yeah. Oh yeah.
The guy's just lights out. And not that goaltending's been an issue, but he's earned a call up at some point.
Why do I feel our goalies are ahead of the rebuild of our players?
Because they are. It's that simple. Dustin Wolf has excelled at every level. Dan Vladar obviously is doing much better after his hip procedure. And Devin Cooley is your typical, almost Tim Thomas-esque late blooming goaltender, right?
Yeah.
So that's what's really propping this team up. And I saw that in Montreal. Montreal should have won that game. Dustin Wolf was phenomenal, which he so often is. But that's again, that's why I'm bringing up the Canadian goaltending thing. Goaltending is so important. So important. That series in 2022 between Calgary and Dallas, we should have won that in 5 games.
Remember how good Ottinger was? Oh,
He was unbelievable. And the shot that Gaudreau beat him with, nobody's stopping that. Seeing
well, and
shot
it's an unexpected shot, right? I mean, it's
that's what I mean, right?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, it's just crazy. And I'm really interested. Like, I want to revisit this in a few months' time and see where we're at with Canadian goalies. But more to the point about the Flames, like, goaltending is phenomenal, top to bottom. So,
yeah.
And that can make a hell of a difference, as we all well know.
It's tough to be a good team without a good goalie, right?
Absolutely.
Big thanks, David Gillis, for the message this week on the socials. Would love anybody to send us any messages of good, bad improvements, things you want to see on the show. We're open to it all, but a big thanks to David Gillis. It really does help us when we hear kind comments like that. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to meet up with him next time in Halifax work and get him some swag. Always appreciate that kind of thing, right?
Speaking of swag, it's in the mail.
Oh, cool, nice.
Some Booz and Tuna stuff. We got albums. Where's my camera? I got albums. I got CDs.
Amazing.
T-shirts.
Oh man, amazing.
All kinds of.
I gotta see those guys live.
Outro music you hear every single episode. We appreciate it and thank them for the good tunes we listen to going in and out of the show.
Yeah, and the album's fantastic. But I also want to point out, because I'm a big LA Guns fan, I love Tracy Guns as a person. He's great to interact with in the socials and stuff. Really cool guy. But Booz and Tuna does a great cover of LA Guns' hit Never Enough. So
they do.
LA Guns is so great.
It's not on this, but if you go onto Spotify or Apple Music, you can get that Never Enough song. But this album's it's good. I love it, top to bottom.
Oh, I do too. They're a great band. I mean, their influence is very obvious, and we appreciate them, providing the music for what we do. It's awesome.
It is. This week, busy week for the Flames. Monday night, it is LA in town. Tuesday, we head to Vancouver, and then Friday, Nashville's in town. We record next Monday night. You'll see a new show the following day. Cool. I'm sorry I was so negative. I'm going to take my...
No, you know what? No, you really put things into perspective. I mean, you use statistical analysis to really bring to light how concerning some of these issues are, and it's all those numbers. My God, like, it's unreal. But again, we still have a winning record. The team is in damn near every game they've played. So again, let's just enjoy it.
Oh, you know what? We're in a good spot considering the numbers. Let's change the numbers. Let's start getting them a little bit better. Let's get in some guys to step up their game. Let's start seeing some points from Sharon Govich and Huberdeau, and let's see a Kuzmenko that we saw last year, and we'll get the ball rolling, right?
Oh man, if he goes off like Kuzmenko, that could make a huge difference.
Yeah. All right, Flames fans, enjoy your week. We're back again next week. Thank you for all the listens, all the likes, and everything. Have a good week, Flames fans.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames hockey talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.